The wind howled like it had lost something. It tore across the plain, dragging dust through the mesquite, rattling the dry bones of the desert. Elias Crowe pulled his coat tighter and squinted into the dying light. The sun hung low and red, a bleeding wound above the ridgeline. His horse snorted, uneasy. Then he saw them, 7 shapes swaying from a mesquite tree, their shadows long and broken across the sand. The wind caught their dresses, tattered, dirt-stained, and made them dance slow and wrong. Boots, bare feet, little ones, too small for the rope. Elias stopped breathing. For a moment, the only sound was the creak of the tree and the soft, steady groan of the rope twisting in the wind. He dismounted. The earth crunched under his boots. He moved closer, the smell of dust and death thick in the air. A sign swung from a nail on the tree, for the taking of white lives. The paint was still wet. Elias's jaw clenched. His hand went to the knife at his belt. He reached for the first rope, the coarse hemp cutting into his palm as he sawed through it. The girl dropped like a sack of feathers, silent. He cut another, then another. The fourth hit the ground with a dull thud, and then coughed. He froze. A ragged breath, a sound so thin it could have been the wind. But no, it came from her. He fell to his knees beside her, pressing fingers to her throat. A pulse, faint, fluttering. He tore off his canteen and poured water between her lips. Her chest rose, shuddered, caught. Then her eyes flickered open, black, terrified, and still full of the sky. "Easy, girl," he rasped. "Easy now." Her fingers twitched, pointing toward the tree. Elias turned. Another body shifted, barely. He rose fast, cutting the rope. She gasped as she hit the dirt, air tearing from her lungs like a bird breaking free. "You want to work?" Fast, desperate, the knife flashing in the dim. 2 alive, the rest gone, faces still turned to the fading light. When it was done, he buried the 5. The ground was hard, his hands bleeding from the shovel's worn grip. The sun dipped below the horizon as he laid the last one down. Coyotes called from far off, thin and hungry. He sat there for a long while, hat in his lap, the girls breathing weak beside him. The wind had gone quiet now, whispering through the grass like it knew secrets he didn't. Then from somewhere deep in the distance, thunder rolled, slow and heavy, like hooves behind a veil. Elias looked east toward town. The horizon burned with stormlight, and in that red glow, he saw something move, a shadow on horseback, watching him. He blinked. It was gone. The old tree creaked once more in the wind, and the night swallowed everything whole. The rain came without warning, hard, cold, and angry. It hammered the roof of the ranch house, poured through the cracks, and hissed off the dying fire. Elias Crowe shoved the door shut against the wind, lightning flashing through the seams. Behind him, the 2 Apache girls sat near the hearth, wrapped in old horse blankets. Their eyes were black mirrors in the flickering light. The dog growled low, staring toward the window as if something moved out there. Elias checked his rifle. "Ain't nobody coming through that door tonight," he muttered, though his voice didn't sound like he believed it. A second flash split the sky, and for a heartbeat, the window was a mirror, his face beside 2 pale shapes out in the rain. Riders, 3 of them, holding torches. He kicked over the fire, and the room fell dark. The girls didn't move. He pressed a finger to his lips, the storm roaring louder now, masking every sound but the beating of his heart. The dog barked once, sharp. Elias cursed under his breath. Boots, in the mud, getting closer. The horses snorted just beyond the barn. The light from the torches flickered through the slats like orange breath. A voice called out, rough and wet with whiskey. "Crow, you bring something home from the trees." No answer. A pause. The rain pounded harder. Then a laugh. "Ain't no sense hiding. Sheriff says you best hand over what you found. Them ain't your kind to keep." Elias raised the rifle, sights leveled on the door. "Go," he whispered to the girls, nodding toward the back. "Through the stable. Don't stop for nothing." The older one touched his arm, a small hand trembling but her eyes steady. Then they were gone, slipping through the rear shadows like smoke. Outside, the door creaked. The handle turned. Elias fired. The blast tore through the night, echoed off the canyon wall. Someone screamed. The horses bolted. The torches hit the mud. Another shot answered, shattering the window. Glass rained across the floor. He ducked, rolled, fired again. Silence. Only rain. Only wind. Elias crawled to the doorway, peering out. One man lay in the mud, torch still burning beside him, steam curling off his back. The others were gone, but hoofprints ran east toward town. He stood in the doorway, drenched, breath ragged. In the distance, thunder rolled again, but this time it carried something else with it. Bells. The church bells from Dry Creek, ringing long past midnight. He looked down. The dead man wore a badge on his vest. Sheriff's mark, bright even under the rain. Elias's hand clenched around his rifle. The storm spat lightning across the horizon, revealing a trail of fresh tracks leading straight back to where the gallows tree waited. And the wind whispered through the dark. They're coming back to finish what they started. The shovel hit wood. Elias froze, breath ghosting in the cold morning air. He wiped the sweat from his brow and cleared the rest of the dirt with his hands. The coffin was too small, too new, no name carved on the cross above it. He pried it open. Not bones. Crates. Inside, rifles. Dozens of them. Army issue. Polished, oiled, untouched by war or dust. A burned insignia marked the lid, a coiled snake around a cross. The same symbol the young Apache girl had drawn in ash on his table. Elias sat back on his heels. The graveyard around the old fort stretched wide, 30 crosses at least. All hollow, all hiding crates. The desert wind hissed through the dry grass, whispering like it knew too much. A horse neighed from the ridge. He lifted his rifle and turned. Sheriff Redden rode up slow, 2 deputies flanking him, rifles in hand. The sheriff's hat was low, his coat gleaming with fresh oil. "Well, Crowe," Redden called, voice calm as the grave. "You sure do dig deep for a man trying to forget his past." Elias didn't answer. Redden dismounted, boots sinking into the loose soil. He nudged the crate with his toe. "Army left these behind after Smoke Valley. We just found a better use for him." Elias's jaw clenched. "Selling to outlaws?" Redden smiled thin. "To both sides. To everyone who needs a reason to keep hating. You of all men should understand. Peace don't feed nobody." He stepped closer, the muzzle of his revolver brushing Elias's chest. "Those girls saw the trade last week. They weren't supposed to." Elias looked at the fresh graves behind him. "So you hung him to shut him up." "Not me," Redden said. "The men who'll build the new rail line through here. They need a story. Need monsters." The deputies laughed, one spitting in the dirt. Elias's fingers tightened around his rifle. The older Apache girl's face flashed in his mind, her eyes pleading, her whisper, "Protector." Redden's smile faltered. "Don't do nothing foolish now, Crowe. Ain't your fight anymore." Elias moved before the word fight was done. The rifle came up, thunder cracked once. The deputy on the right fell. Redden's gun flared, burning the air beside Elias's ear. He dove behind the coffin, bullets splintering wood, gunpowder choking the wind. He rolled, fired twice. The second deputy dropped, the echo dying slow in the desert. Redden backed toward his horse, cursing. Elias rose, mud on his knees, rifle steady. "This is my land," he said low. "Am I dead to bury?" Redden sneered, blood on his sleeve. "You can't stop what's coming, Crowe." Elias fired. The sheriff spun and hit the dirt. Silence. The wind sighed through the crosses again. Elias looked down at the broken badge glinting in the dust and knew what he had to do next. He turned toward the canyon, toward the girls, and toward the fire he meant to start. Gunfire tore the dawn apart. Smoke rolled through the ruins of the fort, thick and choking, turning the air to ash. Elias Crowe moved through it like a shadow, his coat black with blood and dust, his rifle hot in his hands. Bullets snapped past his head, biting into the adobe walls. He ducked, slid across the dirt, fired twice. 2 men dropped from the watchtower. The rest shouted his name like it was a curse. "Crowe, you're dead. You hear me? Dead." He didn't answer. He just kept walking. The storm had come again, sand howling through broken doors and shattered windows. Lightning flickering like the sky was on trial. The girls waited in the canyon beyond, hidden, their small mirrors flashing between the rocks. Each glint of light was a mark, a guide, the next target. Elias raised his rifle. Fired. One flash. One scream. Silence. He reloaded slow, steady. His heartbeat matched the thunder. His eyes burned with the reflection of fire. Wagons loaded with crates of rifles. Already lit, the flames crawling fast. Footsteps behind him. He turned, too late. A blow struck the side of his head, sent him crashing to the ground. Boots stomped through the smoke. Redden's voice, ragged but alive. Couldn't leave well enough alone, could ya? The sheriff limped closer, revolver aimed at Elias's chest. His badge hung half-melted, his face split with blood. You think they'll remember you as some savior? You're just another ghost in the sand. Elias pushed up onto one knee, spitting dust. Maybe. His voice was gravel, but I aimed to haunt the right ones. Redden cocked the hammer. Any last words? Elias's gaze flicked past him, to the mirrored flash on the ridge. Lightning burst overhead. He smiled. Just one. The shot came from the canyon. A single crack that split the thunder. Redden jerked, eyes wide, fell backward into the dirt. Smoke drifted from the ridge where one of the girls stood, holding his old revolver with both hands. Elias rose slow. He looked at her, nodded once, then turned toward the fort. Flames climbed the walls, rifles exploding in their crates, sparks spinning into the storm. He walked through the fire without looking back. The blaze swallowed the banners, the buildings, the graves. By the time the storm cleared, only ashes and hoofprints remained. Years later, travelers spoke of that place, how nothing grew where the fort once stood, and how, some nights, a rider's silhouette appeared against the lightning, coat flapping, eyes bright as embers. And when the wind swept through the canyons, carrying the hiss of burning wood, folks swore they could hear him whisper, "Justice don't hang from trees. It rides."